And this is Real Deal Sports Talk with KP. It is February 23rd, 2019. It is Saturday. It's a beautiful weekend. We got some snow here in Colorado overnight. About 4 or 5 inches when I woke up this morning. Had to do some shoveling. Went out, got some errands done. Now I'm back, able to talk sports with you. We're going to get into it today. It's going to be a little heavy today. There's been some sad stories, some ridiculous stories, some pathetic stories out there. Some stuff that just getting under my skin in sports that we need to talk about today. This one and done situation, how it ties into all of college athletics, how it ties into Zion Williamson, how it ties into the purity of sports. We're going to talk heavily about that. We're going to talk about this situation down in Jupiter, Florida, that Robert Kraft is connected to and the way it should be being talked about, and let those idiots out there know that are making jokes of this how wrong they are. We're going to talk about the Steelers situation because that is a storied franchise that is falling apart. So we'll get into some of the stuff that's going on there. And then I just got to give, we got to talk about Don Nelson's comments at the end of the show if we have time. But big topic, this one and done situation, the emergence of AAU sports, and this importance that everybody wants to put on money first when it comes to athletics, when it comes to these kids playing a game that they grow up loving, when their dream is to become a professional, not a businessman, not a dollar sign, right? But here we are. NBA, they're looking to get rid of their one and done rule. Nobody has ever really liked it. We've seen over and over how many times these kids that didn't take the opportunity to extend their game, to go to a college, or even some of the other opportunities that are out there, like the G League, like going and playing overseas, if they wanted to do something straight out of high school. We saw these kids ruin their lives because they didn't have the emotional maturity. They didn't know what they were getting into, and their game was not as solid as it needed to be a first-round pick or a second-round pick, since you've got 2 rounds in the NBA. We're going to start with the NBA, but trust me, we're going to hit on the other sports as well. And they're not getting the right advice. And they're foregoing their amateur status, and they're signing these contracts. If you want to go back to that system, then the NCAA needs to allow these kids that decide to try and go from high school to the NBA, they need to allow them the opportunity when they don't make the NBA, when they're not a first-round pick, to go, you know what, never mind, I'm going to go back and play college ball. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to have this other avenue. Because right now, just saying, hey, 18-year-olds, you cocky little sons of bitches, go out there and make millions of dollars is not going to work for anybody except the people that are profiting off of it. It's not going to work for the fans because your product's going to start sucking. Your teams are going to start to suck. You're not going to have people who have the reps to develop their skills, to develop as they're growing, to develop emotional maturity, to develop physical maturity, before they play the professional version of the game that they play. Now the system, the capitalism, the college, yes, they profit immensely. And the idea that these kids get an education as their pay, I understand the argument that that's a little bit of a joke to some people. And that you can't sit there and say that they get to make an education when they're being profited off of. No, that's exactly what you get to say. That's 100% what it should be about. You are there as a student athlete. You sign up to be a student athlete. If you want to be a flat athlete, don't take a scholarship. Go find another route to become a professional. But trust me, these little 18-year-old kids, and I was one of them, thought I was sitting on top of the world at that age and knew everything and that I could handle it. And it took me years to figure out I didn't know anything. You give me millions of dollars when I'm 18, my life is completely jacked up right now. Just like a lot of the 18-year-old kids would be. They don't all have solid support systems. They don't all come from socioeconomic classes where they know how to handle money and have people around them and financial advisors and parents who have been successful saving and putting money aside and investing and all of this stuff. Those are not the majority of the kids we are talking about who come out at 18, not into the NBA. where yes, it is possible for some athletes to jump from high school to the NBA. A very, very, very small percentage of athletes. It's already a minuscule amount of Little League athletes that make it to professional sports. You have to cut that way down for those that would be ready, maturity-wise, physically-wise, worldliness, to go out and be a professional at 18 and have that kind of money and that kind of pressure put on them. There needs to be minor league systems. The G League is developing. It needs to grow. We have to find ways to get the capitalism out of amateur sports. Adults are ruining it. I heard Doug Gottlieb this week say, adults have ruined Little League sports and they are ruining collegiate athletics, and that is 100% true. And we're going to talk about that a whole bunch here in a minute. So the NBA has been proposed, and it's going to pass, to move it back from 19 to 18. Because that 1 year ended up making a whole lot of no sense. Why are you going to have it be for 1 year? 19-year-olds aren't any more emotionally or maturity ready than an 18-year-old is to be on that stand, to be on that stage. In fact, it used to be the norm that most players went 3-4 years. They got their education. They had something to fall back on in case, God forbid, you get in a car accident and your career's over. You trip and fall down the stairs and your career's over. You're playing in a pickup game or practice and something happens that ends your career. They had it to back up on. They got the education. They were student athletes. NFL, the idea that Trevor Lawrence should not have had to go to college and that he could have come out at 18 and played in the NFL is a joke. There's not one 18-year-old kid, Adrian Peterson, I don't care who it is, that is ready at that age to play with grown men in the NFL, to be part of the locker room with grown men in the NFL. You need to develop those skills of becoming a man so you can go be part of it. That's what the college or the minor league system should be for. That's why Major League Baseball is so successful. They have a huge farm system, different levels of farm system. Leagues on the East Coast, leagues on the Pacific Coast. You got winter leagues in other countries. You got minor league teams, 3-4 different levels for the MLB all over the country. Here, Colorado Rockies, they've got different minor league teams in different states all over the place. East Coast, New Mexico, Arizona, there's 2 or 3 of them in different places, and they've moved around to different places over the years. Hockey, same thing. Yes, and guess what? Both baseball and hockey have college athletics. A lot of these guys who get drafted straight out of high school still end up going and playing for their college teams. They don't all get drafted and go, you know what, here's what we're going to do. No, because they have more avenues, they have more options. They're still student athletes. The excitement, the prestige, the pride that goes into being a student athlete and winning a championship for your school and doing all of that stuff that kids like to do, that adults need to shut up about because your life is different than theirs, is important. It develops you as a person. It makes you stronger. It makes you better. So why are we talking about this? Why the rise of the AAUs, the rise of the one and done? Why is it so important that we talk about it this week? Because we all saw Zion Williamson blow up his shoe. The big freak nature of an athlete basketball player for the University of Duke. Big nationally televised TV. Oh, he goes down. He blew out his shoe. He needs to shut it down for the rest of the year and not play so he can go make money. To everybody who has that thought, I feel sorry for you. It's saddening that that's how little and petty you are as a human. That the most important thing to you is that kid making money. Not the kid doing what he loves. Not the kid playing a game that he loves. Not what the kid wants to do. But you just wanting him to capitalize and make the most money so you can go, Zion Williamson, $100 million shoe deal. Zion Williamson, $100 million contract. Let's talk about the numbers. No, let's talk about the sport. Let's talk about athletics. Let's take it back to what it used to be and stop being this fanboy video game BS. Sports is not about making money. Growing up as a kid, I never dreamed of making it to be a professional so I could be a millionaire. I dreamed of making it to the NFL. Becoming rich. But once you become rich, you don't love the game. You are just maybe athletically gifted enough to play the game. And sports provide so much more than money, so much more than just a revenue stream. And it's sickening me that so many people on the radio, so many former players, so many punts out there are telling this kid he needs to shut it down, forego maybe getting injured playing for Duke, who's cashing in so much money. And he should only worry about himself. That's disgusting. That's not sportsmanship. That's not teamwork. That's not being a good person. That's capitalistic, greedy nonsense. And it has no place in the world of sports. I've talked about it on this show many times. The business aspect of professional sports is disgusting. It's become even more disgusting to the point that it's changing the game because now we have to have different rules in different sports to protect different people based on the amount of money these billionaires are paying them. Not based on the sport itself, not based on the purity of athletics, which some people want to laugh at me right now just because I said that, like I'm naive. No, I'm a purist. I don't buy into that we have to have capitalism and that there should be in any way a college basketball game where people are paying $10,000 a ticket or $2,500 a ticket. The Super Bowl price tickets should not be that much. If it's really about the fans, you don't charge that much. If it's really about the sport, you don't charge that much. You charge that much when it's about the dollar, when it's about greed. That's when you charge that much. That's when the prices are that high. I would have no problem if our athletes, just like they used to, had to have a job in the off season and do something else, because then it would dwindle down to just the people who truly love those sports. And it's so wrong to say this kid should shut it down. Now, I heard this week maybe the shoe thing. Let's talk about the shoe thing a little bit. Charles Barkley was talking about it. He used to say that guys like that he knew playing when he was in the NBA, a lot of them wore a different pair of shoes for every game, for every practice. He'd go through one pair of shoes a week. It's been reported that the pair of shoes that Zion was wearing, with his big, muscular, beastie frame, is the same pair he's worn all season. It's quite possibly that pair of shoes just got worn out. Now, Nike wants to say it's an isolated incident. You can go check the videos of all the different times Nike shoes have blown up on people. It's bound to happen. You make that many pairs of shoes, you're bound to have one that's got bad rubber or some bad stitching. You're not going to catch every single bad shoe when you're producing millions of pairs. I don't care if it's Jordan brand, Nike brand, Reebok, Puma. You pick your brand. You're going to have malfunctions in the product at some time. But if I'm as big and as muscular and as freakishly athletic as Zion, this point forward, I wear a different pair of shoes. Because I'm not paying for them. It's not my dollar. That's free to me. That's a deal that the school cut with the shoe company. I'm not even a part of that. Oh, I heard it already. People out there are already on the uproar. Well, see, that's more money they should be getting. No, stop selling jerseys with the players' names and numbers. You want to sell jerseys? Sell a jersey that says Duke and it's blue and white. It's got the Duke logo on it. There's your jersey, because the name on that jersey, the school's name on that jersey, is way more valuable in college athletics than the individual's name is, because they haven't made it yet. They're not an investment. They're not a total tool to a system that is all about making money. So Doug Gottlieb came out this week. He talked about Zion definitely needs to go back to school and have the opportunity of being with his teammates and having that fun and being in that atmosphere and potentially winning a national championship. Charles Barkley talked about it and said, this is what we do. We play basketball. We are basketball players. I'm not going to shut it down. I came here to play basketball. If I'm healthy, that's what I'm going to do, whether it's here or somewhere else. And if it's somewhere else, I don't have the benefit of having the doctors at Duke fix me if I get hurt. then it's on my dollar. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, greatest of all time in my opinion, talked about the emotional maturity that's needed, and he would like to see it moved all the way to 21 when you can join a professional sport, because by then you've gained a lot of emotional maturity to go with whatever athleticism you may or may not have. I agree with all of that. Adults and money and capitalism we need to stop trying to profit off of these kids. It's disgusting. It's not what it's about. It's not what sports should be about. It's not what student athletics should be about. The NCAA system needs to be fixed. There needs to be some kind of a stipend put in for these guys. That allows for them to have a little bit of a life. That allows them to develop their skills better. That allows them to have some spending money and not just be a tool for the university. That allows them to go out and be more of a normal college student. At the same time, with that, for college athletics, the revenue sharing system needs to be fixed. Across the board, for the most part, football brings in the most money. May not have as many games, but it brings in the most money. So there needs to be a revenue sharing system that gets put into place that helps all of the athletics and all of the schools in the conference. If you can't develop that, then you need to start stripping away TV contracts. And you need to start taking alumni dollars and making it for the whole university and spreading it across all of the students. Because by no means are the scientists not capitalized on, are the dancers not capitalized on, are the teachers not capitalized on just as much as the athletes. The athletes just generate more money to capitalize off of. So fix the whole system, tear it down, break it down, and start from anew. But you don't need to add different revenue streams and different ways to capitalize on it. I completely disagree with that frame of thinking. Allow these kids to go out and play. Allow them to be kids. So my fix for this, make sports about sports. Capitalism has no place in high school or college sports or little league. Let that stay in the professional levels where it belongs. Bring farm systems, true minor leagues to all levels of sports. Maybe the AAF develops into that for the NFL, or the XFL can develop into that for the NFL. Instead of trying to be a competitor, it can be another league where guys have opportunities to develop their skills to get to the highest level. All sports farm systems, better scholarships for the kids that allow them to have stipends as if they had a job. Because college kids who are not on scholarship, they can go out and work as much as they want while they're going to school. So since these athletes do not have that because they are an investment to the college, is how they're treated right now, if you're not going to get rid of that ideal, then you have to give them more access. What that access is, I don't know. Maybe you take the budget of the athletic department, you say, here's what all the ticket sales are, we're going to take a percentage of this and give it to the athletes as an athletic stipend that goes on top of the scholarship that covers their room and board. Then you're going to stop selling jerseys and their likeness. You don't get to sell their commercials and their likeness unless they get some kind of percentage of that, whether it's while they're active or it goes into an account that they get after they leave the university or are no longer classified as an amateur. I'd be fine with that too for scholarship athletes. Here's the little bank account that we're going to give you. It's like a trust that we're going to give you that gets a percentage of money put into it every season based on how much money the program brings in. Here's the system, here's the scale for it. And then when you leave the university, you cash out your trust. Be fine with that. But remember, these are student athletes. Student athletes. So if you want to sell the university, sell the university, but you cannot sell these students. That is not okay. It is not okay that the sanctity and the purity of sports and what you should be getting out of sports has been turned into how much money you can make. Forget your teammates, forget your obligations, your commitments that you have made. Go get that dollar. That is gross and disgusting to me. That is not what athletics is about. That's not what you should be getting from sports. That's not what I got from sports. That's not why I fell in love with sports. That's not why so many people fell in love with sports. So here's just a short list. And this list could go on and on and on with ideals of what you should be getting out of sports that's more important than money. Healthy lifestyle, right? Right off the top. You get exercise. You get teamwork. You get loyalty. You learn how to work hard. You have camaraderie. You learn how to fail. You learn how to win. Sportsmanship, responsibility, follow through. You learn how to stick to things. You get friendship, work ethic, morals, how to stand up for people. You have a support system. You learn how to battle through adversity. You learn to never give up. You can be friends with teammates who are different than you. Different religion, different skin color, different belief systems. Sometimes you might get an education out of it if you take advantage of that. Sometimes you get to travel. You learn to take chances and go outside of your norm. You step outside of your comfort zone. You gain self-confidence, a sense of worth, pride. You deal with heartbreak and loss and what it takes to have that blood, sweat, and tears, and then you don't get the ultimate goal at the end, and how that could be a motivator and a chip on your shoulder, and you can build off of that. You get joy from it. You get lifelong memories and a different family out of it. That is a short list of what you should be getting out of sports that makes it so great that money has nothing to do with. And it hurts my heart to see these athletes have to go through the pressure of adults out there making about money, being greedy, capitalistic. Sports is pure. Sports is everything to a lot of people. And it needs to get back to that, in my opinion. All right, since I'm all riled up, we're going to go right now. We're going to jump on this thing that happened in Jupiter, Florida, with the sex trafficking. A lot of idiots out there. A lot of pathetic, petty people out there. They see Robert Kraft's name, and they make this about the Patriots and jokes and how petty can we be? It's a rival. They've won all these Super Bowls. Ha ha. Now you can get them in jail. Let's make my memes. You people are disgusting. This is not about Robert Kraft going in his limo to a strip mall to get some hand jobs. This is about sex trafficking. This is about slavery. Very serious, not funny in any way, shape, or form. These women are being brought to this country with the idea that they're going to have an opportunity to make their lives better. And then they don't have any money. They don't have phones. They don't have transportation. They don't have a place to live. They're locked in a room and used as a sex toy by perverted, corrupt, nasty, dirty people. That is not funny in any way, shape, or form. And shame on any of you who instantly saw that your football rival or the Patriots owner was involved and decided to make a joke of it. Because you know damn well if your family members were being abused in that way, you would be pissed off and not making jokes about it. Unacceptable that that's how petty and pathetic our society is because we like sports. Now, what kind of league punishment should there be if the charges move forward? Because you're not guilty just because charges have been brought up. You have not been proven guilty. Even though public perception, we want to vilify anybody we hear has done anything without a trial or anything moving on. We know the NFL will punish him somehow because of conduct detrimental to the league. We know that when you're a billionaire, you don't take your stretch limo to a strip mall and go into a massage parlor, more than likely, unless you know what that massage parlor is all about. We hear that there's bigger names on this list that haven't been put out yet. If there's bigger names than Robert Kraft that are on this list, why are we not hearing them from people in Florida? Is it simply because the Dolphins play in the same division as the Patriots, and these petty officers and petty people in Florida wanted to make a point that point out the Patriots and burn their rival somehow? Are the bigger names on the list some of the people that Robert Kraft may do business with, or may be friends with, or may run countries around the world? So we can't expose their names because of the backlash we might get from them? Like, what are those bigger names if they're really out there? I want to know. Those people need to also be punished justly. Yeah, just unbelievable that we are so divided, so distracted, and so angry as a society that we can joke about that instead of wanting to comfort these people, these women, and help them out in some way and save them and end something like that. That we rather make memes and jokes and point out, oh, my rival, the Patriots, who have been so good for 20 years. Let's bring up every stupid joke we can think of instead of being angered that something so horrific was taking place right here in our backyard. We might want to wake up. We might want to care a little bit more about each other before it just happens to us and then we care. The worst thing that can happen for the people in power is that we all decide to care about each other. And that we can put our pettiness and our greed and our selfishness aside and actually look out for one another. Help each other shovel our walks. Give each other some food. Notice when somebody's struggling and doesn't have the money and you pitch in $1. Community. How many of you out there know your neighbors' names? But you're willing to go put a stupid meme of somebody's joke and somebody's hardship all over your social media. Now, I put the stories out there. I'll put other people's jokes out there so it can be exposed and you guys can have your chance to react to it and think about it and have your views and your opinions. And sometimes I put my opinions out there with the posts that I put on social media because I'm not just looking for the reaction from the people. But by no means do I find this situation funny. Not at all. Any way, shape, or form. Moving into the Steelers. I don't find this situation funny at all. The Steelers, under the Rooney family, have always been one of the greatest organizations in football. Always been one of the most successful organizations in football. Have always been a place players were willing to go play. They played hard. They played the right way. There is something seriously wrong in Pittsburgh right now. Le'Veon Bell out the door. Antonio Brown out the door. Former players talking about what needs to happen there and the disorder. Current players talking about other players' business, which doesn't happen in any other locker room in the NFL. At least not through the media. You've got Kevin Colbert, the GM, coming out and saying that Ben Roethlisberger has 52 kids on this team and that he has the right to criticize anybody and they should all listen. Mr. GM, if I was the owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers, you would be fired right now, Mr. Kevin Colbert. No, I've got 53 men on my roster. I do not have a quarterback and 52 kids that need to shut up and know their role. If anybody in Pittsburgh needs to shut up and know his role right now, it's Ben Roethlisberger. He is not anybody's daddy on that team. He has no right to be talking about everybody's business. His best years are behind him. He's been close to retiring for so long because his skills are diminishing. If it weren't for all of the skill position players around Ben Roethlisberger, he would not still be considered one of the top flight quarterbacks in the NFL. He's not as mobile as he used to be. He doesn't stay up to the big hits as much as he used to. His arm is not as strong as it used to be. The years have piled up on him. His ego has piled up on him. And don't forget, this is the same guy who a few years ago had his bodyguards help him lock young women in the bathroom so he could try and sexually assault them. Don't forget that about this guy's character. So where he has no problem throwing people under the bus, you don't ever hear him say, I've got to do better. I messed up. It was my fault. No, he's going to criticize everybody else's business. What's going to happen if this is the stance the Steelers are taking? You're not getting free agents to come play there. You start hearing more stories about these star players leaving a team like that because of this kind of stuff. 52 kids, they better listen. All of a sudden, the Steelers are going to become the Cleveland Browns from the last 20 years real quick. And if I'm the Rooney family, sorry, my granddad's legacy, my dad's legacy is not this. James Harrison was right months ago when he talked about Tomlin needed to take control of that locker room, of that team. No more special rules for individual players. It's falling apart there in Pittsburgh, and it's sad to see. And maybe Tomlin's not the guy. Maybe it's time for him to go. Maybe it's time for the Steelers to have their fourth coach. But this can't continue to happen. Not when you're the Steelers. You're one of the premier franchises in the NFL. You're one of two franchises in the NFL to win 6 Super Bowls. You have some of the greatest players to ever play the game. You have some of the greatest fans in the country, all over the place. Every stadium you go to, you've got the Steel Curtain fans doing their thing. They deserve better than this. Star players not wanting to be there. The GM telling everybody else on the team that they're a child. Please. If I'm a man, you ain't telling me that. I'm not coming to your OTAs. You better apologize real quick and fix the system. You do not own me. I am not a slave. Burger. And until somebody in the position of power, head coach or GM or owner, says, that's not how it's going to work here, you're going to continue to see the Steelers team fall apart. Makes you feel bad for guys like Juju Smith. You know, these guys, it feels like they're going to be in really bad situations moving forward. On bad teams with dysfunction, infighting, talking about each other's contracts and business. If I'm the NFL, I don't want that to be a look for the Steelers. That's a bad look for the NFL, that's what the Steelers organization is being talked about as right now. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Last thing we'll talk about today before we get out of here is Don Nelson. I don't know if you saw it, but the Warriors brought back some guys this week, Steven Jackson and Jason Richardson and Don Nelson, and they're all giving a press conference after a Golden State game, and somebody asked Don Nelson, what have you been up to since retirement? He said, well, I've been smoking a little pot. And his hair's long now, and, he said it in a way he's like the hippie old guy, almost like a Lebowski type figure. Got a lot of laugh in the room, but there'd be a lot less opioid use, a lot less opioid addiction, and a lot less opioid death if marijuana were not made illegal for racist purposes. In fact, I'm not even going to use that. I'll say cannabis from now on, because even the term marijuana was used to try and racially profile Mexicans and make it seem like it was their thing and not a white thing. So cannabis needs to be legal. CBD needs to be a pain option for these guys and not opioids. Don Nelson, thanks for bringing some humor to it. That's the show. Until next time.
Denver City life, living every night, getting it. All I see is green like it's night vision. My sight's different. My type driven. These niggas risking a life sittings over white flipping, but I ain't with it. I'm light skinned it. My mind gifted, intelligence in my disposition, aristocratic image, and not to mention I'm nice with it. The ice drip over cardigan sweaters, tight fitting, white linen. This is the type of shit that entice women. The fly shit that I'm on is passing the sky's limits. Why it's not surprising to see that all of these guys live it. I vivid, solemnly swear the rhyme exquisite with the time I'm giving. My mind flying, defying physics. I stay smooth like sipping out of champagne flutes. Always way cool, but it ain't a thing, just a flame cruise. You lame dudes, this that shit that you can't do. That's why your main boo steady watching me how I make moves.
My high city life got me way above the clouds. Paint the audience a picture every time I draw a crowd. I hold my weight with these bars, so make no mistake. I get the cooking like Chef Curry in Golden State.